It's most unfortunate. There is no doubt that there were a series of imminent attacks that were being plotted by Qasem Soleimani. We don't know precisely when, and we don't know precisely where, but it was real.
Mr. Secretary, the administration said this strike was done based on an imminent threat, but this morning you said we didn't know precisely when and we didn't know precisely where. That's not the definition of imminent. The president has also suggested that there was some sort of attack being planned against an embassy, perhaps several embassies. Can you clarify, did you have specific information about an imminent threat, and did it have anything to do with our embassies?
We had specific information on an imminent threat, and those threat stream included attacks on U.S. embassies. Period. Full stop.
So you were mistaken when you said you didn't know precisely when and you didn't know precisely where?
Nope, completely true. Those are completely consistent thoughts. I don't know exactly which minute. We don't know exactly which day it would have been executed, but it was very clear. Qasem Soleimani himself was plotting a broad, large-scale attack against American interests, and those attacks were imminent.
Mike Pompeo, what is your definition of imminent?
This was going to happen.
Secretary Pompeo, if I can, here today at the podium you said that the imminent threat was a threat to U.S. embassies. You didn't know precisely when or where. Last night the president said it was a threat to embassies, including to our Baghdad embassy. Why can you say that here and the president could say it at a rally in Toledo, but no one said it to lawmakers behind closed doors in a classified setting, as multiple senators have since said?
We did.
You said so the senators are lying when they say that
we told them about the imminent threat. All of the intelligence that we've briefed, that you've heard today, I assure you, in an unclassified setting, we provide in the classified setting as well.
To be clear, you told them that embassies were to be targeted. That was the imminent threat.
I'm not going to talk about the details of what we shared in the classified setting, but make no mistake about it. Those leaders, those members of Congress who want to go access this same intelligence can see that very same intelligence that will reflect well, I described to you what the president said last night.
The only logical conclusion that I could come to after watching Mike Pompeo talk out of both sides of his mouth is that he doesn't actually know what the word imminent means. I mean, it's either that or he's lying, and there's no possible way that the Secretary of State would... Even when confronted by a reporter and again pressed about the contradictory nature of saying that both an attack was imminent and that he had no idea when or where it would take place, Pompeo doubles down and pretends that his gaslighting is somehow legitimate. I mean, this is a clinic in this Orwellian fever dream for the right, wherein people like Mike Pompeo try and convince us that what we know to be true, like, for example, the definition of the word imminent, isn't the case. Now, this should go without saying, but if you can't pinpoint where or when an attack is going to take place, then by definition, you can't call this an imminent threat. It also begs the question that if the threat was as obvious as Mike Pompeo is making it out to be, then why would Republican Senators Mike Lee and Rand Paul rail against the briefing that the administration officials gave?
I still haven't had the questions answered that I came into that briefing expecting to ask. They left after 75 minutes. Now, I understand these are busy people. They've got a lot of demands on their time. They're appearing before a coordinate branch of government responsible for their funding, for their confirmation, for any approval of any military action they might undertake. They had to leave after 75 minutes while they're in the process of telling us that we need to be good little boys and girls and run along and not debate this in public. I find that absolutely insane. I think it's unacceptable. And so I don't know what they had in mind. I went in there hoping to get more specifics as far as the factual, legal, moral justification for what they did. I'm still undecided on that issue, in part because we never got to the details. Every time we got close, they'd say, well, we can't discuss that here because it's really sensitive. We're in a skiff. We're in a secure underground bunker where all electronic devices have to be checked at the door, and they still refuse to tell us. I find that really upsetting.
Because let's be honest, if there was even some distant semblance of justification, if there was an inkling of a chance that the strike was justified, Republican senators would give deference to this administration. I mean, Trump suggested nuking a hurricane, and not one person on the right batted an eye that this is the guy who controls the nuclear codes. So for people like Rand Paul and Mike Lee, two of the most conservative senators, to give such a full-throated rejection of the Trump administration's rationale for this strike is a testament to not only how glaringly they lied in that briefing, but how glaringly Mike Pompeo continues to lie to this day. Now, I should note too that despite how much Trump's mouthpieces try and make this about Soleimani, that's not what this is about. Yes, he was a depraved figure with blood on his hands. The issue is whether Trump had the authority to unilaterally order a strike with dubious legal justification that even his own party doesn't buy and put us at risk of getting mired in a brand new forever war in the Middle East. So yes, Soleimani was unequivocally bad, but does that mean that Trump can assassinate Kim Jong-un, Erdogan, Putin, risk wars with North Korea or Turkey or Russia? Those guys are bad too, but the point is that the risks of doing so would likely outweigh the benefits. That's why Bush and Obama both declined to take out Soleimani. And beyond that, it's why the power to declare war rests with Congress, so that the ever-changing mood of one man doesn't plunge the United States into an all-out international conflict. A man, by the way, who is known to predicate his policy on how it'll benefit him personally. It might not seem fair to Republicans who are desperate to beat the drums of war and use all the shiny new equipment we've purchased, but the United States is supposed to adhere to the rule of law, both at home and internationally. That is what gives us the moral authority to even be able to say who's a good guy and who's a bad guy. If we start lying about breaking international law, then what's to stop other countries from doing the same? From saying that the United States doesn't follow the law, so why should we? What's to stop other countries from indiscriminately assassinating our officials who they view as terrorists? The rule of law is only as strong as our own adherence to it, and if we decide that it no longer matters, then the entire world becomes less safe because of it. And that is exactly the position that people like Trump and Pompeo are putting us in by lying shamelessly to the press, to members of both parties, and to the American people. We deserve leadership with a strategy that extends beyond November of 2020. Leadership that's actually committed to keeping us safe as opposed to coddling the every whim of an unstable narcissist. And that's not at all what we've got.